Hello everyone, welcome back to Bracket Fantasy Sports Cards. Well guys, week 1 of the NFL season, of the Fantasy Rips League season, is in the books, and I gotta say, it was incredible. We've been waiting for so long. The off season seemed like an eternity, but football is finally back, and it was well worth the wait. Starting off from the Thursday night game, Dallas-Tampa Bay, with Brady hooking up with Godwin for the first touchdown of the season, the first score of the season, leading all the way up to Derek Carr hitting Zay Jones for the game-winning touchdown Monday night in overtime, and so many great games in between. It was just an incredible week, so many good televised games. I hope that that's sort of indicative of how this season is going to go, because there were just so many exciting games, and I hope that it doesn't just feel that way because we've waited so long for football. But I gotta say, those were amazing games. So we are going to go over Fantasy Rip League Week 1. Of course, we're doing it a little bit different this year, so there are not head-to-head matchups in each heat. So we're doing 4 weeks at a time. The first 2 weeks of that heat are just going to be accumulating points from our rips. And at the end of the second week, the top 4 with the most points will move on to a playoff bracket in week 3 and a championship in week 4, and then we will restart in week 5. So if you're interested in getting in, if you didn't make it into this first heat, you want to get into the next round, hit me up on Instagram and let me know, and we will be doing starting week 5 the next heat. But we did get quite a few channels involved, a very nice mix of the bigger channels, newer channels. We've got on Instagram, we've got a group chat going. We've been having a lot of fun over there, so it's a good time. I highly recommend, if you're interested, you join us for the next heat, because we've been having a great time so far. And we are going to go over what we did this week in week 1 for our rips and our lineups, and in no particular order, just how I filled them out on the spreadsheet. We will start with Bracket Fantasy Sports Cards, yours truly. We did not have a great week, and we didn't have a great rip was the main reason for that. So we opened a 2021 certified hobby box, 4 hits, 2 autographs, 2 mem cards. Not a single one of them was playable. So we only ended up with 2 multipliers on Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams. We had a numbered card for each of those. Devontae Adams, of course, was well, he plays for the Packers, and they did not play good in week 1. So we only got 24.3 points for Devontae. Justin Jefferson did a little better. He had over 10 points, so we got 30 for that. But our total, 134.82, not incredible, considering that we opened a hobby box, and this is kind of proof that you can't really buy a win in Fantasy Rip League, because we lost to, well, I think we took 10th place out of 16 people who entered, so not great, but that is our score. There you go. We played Josh Allen, Kelsey. They were all decent, but yeah, not the best week for us, and we are going to have to definitely pull out all stops next week if we have a chance of making the playoffs. So next one up is FtF CARDS, new to Fantasy Rip League, along with honestly most of these people, but hopefully everyone's been having a good time. FtF CARDS opened a 2021 Prestige Mega Box, which was, I think, the most popular product for this week. It's a new release. It's definitely been loaded with all kinds of cool hits, and he did really good. Scored over 200 points with the Mega Box, which only gives you 40 cards. So he was able to fill out all positions. Got 6 multipliers, including his defense, his quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, his tight end. Pretty good stuff. So his card and play of the week was Devonta Smith times 3 for 48.3 points. But honestly, a very well-rounded lineup, and scored him 200.96 points. So very good. Next up is Mr. Irrelevant Sports Cards. Opened a 2021 Prestige Blaster Box. Ended up with 1 Antonio Gibson multiplier times 2. So without the multipliers, it was a little rough, but ended up scoring just under what we got. So 133.66 for Mr. Irrelevant. Next up, BREAKBROS Cards opened a 2021 Prestige Hanger Box, or 2 Hanger Boxes, and ended up with 3 multipliers for TJ Hawkinson, Devin White, and the Rams defense. did pretty good with those multipliers and netted a total score of 202.48, which is a very solid performance and puts him definitely in the running to make the playoffs. FISHIN for Cards opened a 2021 Prestige Blaster and a hanger box. Ended up with what seems to be the average, 3 multipliers. Christian McCaffrey times 2, Nick Chubb times 2, and Aaron Donald times 2. Aaron Donald was the defensive player chosen most often for this week. But pretty solid showing. Christian McCaffrey, of course, always good. Ended up with 46.4. That was his play of the week for 180.80 total points. ZENPAITCG opened a 2021 Score Blaster and a 2020 Select Blaster and ended up with 3 multipliers. Kyler Murray, which was an excellent play. Kyler was the #1 quarterback for fantasy. Multiplier times 2 got him 69.12 points for Kyler. Got a Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders did pretty decent. And DJ Moore times 5 for 62 points. Total 225.76. So congratulations, Zenpai. That's a very good score. Next up, Derb Sports Talkin' Cards opened a 2021 Prestige Mega Box. Ended up with a ton of multipliers, 6 multipliers. For some reason, none of those really played out. They were decent, but total score was 133.80 for Derb. Next up, Silver Sport opened, just like we did, a 2021 Certified Hobby Box, except they were able to actually play some of their hits, so that must have been nice. They got a Joe Burrow mem card, and then they also pulled points. And if you're following Fantasy Rip League, you know that if you pull Panini points, that counts as a wild card that you can use to increase any of your cards by a ×1 multiplier. So he used that on his Joe Burrow ×4 for a total of ×5 multiplier. And Burrow had a decent game, ended up with 93.2. That was the second card of the week. Not card of the week, but close. David Montgomery also had a killer game. That ×3 multiplier netted him 54.9 points. And then here's where it gets tricky. Ramondre Stevenson, RPA. He was injured, and then he was going to play, and then he was questionable, and he ended up playing, but he fumbled on, I think, his first carry and got negative points. So he had negative 0.4. And with the multiplier, Silver Sport ends up gaining negative 2.4 points for the Ramondre Stevenson play. They also did not find a tight end to be played in their hobby box because they were all in mine. I had 4 tight ends in my certified hobby box. But still, the Burrow kind of saved him. Ended up with 175.20 for Silver Sport. Chuck and Ed at Silver Sport. Definitely check out all these channels, guys. These are all great channels. Check them out. We'll put links in the description so you can link right to them and subscribe to these awesome channels. Next up, Steelers Cards 7, brand new channel. 2020 Prestige Blaster Box, and did not get a playable multiplier, which is unfortunate. It happens, especially when the bye weeks start, and that's when it gets a little tricky. And sometimes you'll pull a great card that you can't play that week because that team is on bye. So that was kind of what happened to Steelers Cards. Played the best, I think, I have to rewatch the video, but I'm pretty sure he played the best cards that he could have, and it just didn't work out. Aaron Rodgers obviously had a terrible game. J.J. Watt did not do great, but Chandler Jones sure did. On the other side, wow, Chandler Jones with 5 sacks, that was crazy. However, ended up with 82.82 points, bottom score in the league. And we'll have to pull it out next week with something incredible if he hopes to make the playoffs. Tavern Sports Cards 2021 Prestige Mega Box ended up with 4 really nice multipliers. Jamar Chase, Jamal Adams, Matthew Stafford, Amon-Ra St. Brown. That one could have been a little better. It was a ×6 and only netted 19.8 points, but total score of 242.38. Very solid showing. Definitely in the running for, well, currently in the running for the playoffs in the top 4, which we will go over at the end. Card Dojo absolutely crushed it with the card of the week. Zach Wilson autograph pulled out of the 2021 Prestige Mega Box. Card of the week, Zach Wilson, times 6, 115.92 total fantasy points for that Zach Wilson auto. Very cool. You also had some really good other multipliers. Dalvin Cook times 2, Austin Eckler times 3, Judy times 3, and Dallas Goedert times 3. They all worked out pretty good. I believe he had top score at 285.32. Very nice for that Prestige Mega Box. Next up, 5J's Sports Cards opened a 2021 Score Hanger Box, which is a good play because you can definitely fill out a team with a Score Hanger Box for sure. And he did. Got all positions and one multiplier on DJ Moore, who had a decent game. Ended up with 37.2 points for that play of the week for him. So not bad, 125 overall points. Vikings 95 opened a 2021 Prestige Blaster Box, had 2 parallels, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Joey Bosa, and those were okay. Solid team on paper pre-game, and then after the games it was just it was okay. It was average. Patrick Mahomes, of course, played well. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was encouraging for fantasy purposes, but did not blow up points-wise. But a very good team overall, and a total score of 124.88. ATL Rips opened, the only one who opened a 2021 Donruss Hobby Box and did very well in there. Got a Dak Prescott times 2 for 56.84 points, and 4 other multipliers on the high ends with a mem card, jersey number, a couple numbered cards. Brandon Ayuk was unfortunate. He did not get really any playing time. I think he had 1 punt return was all he did. So Brandon Ayuk with a times 3 multiplier, only 0.84 points. But overall, 173.38. Very good showing for ATL Rips. Definitely has a chance to make the playoffs for sure. C-Bus breaks with a 2021 Prestige Mega Box. Ended up with 3 multipliers, Jerry Jeudy, Dallas Goedert, and Chargers defense for a total of 167.28. And the last one, our returning champion who won last year, DeBuffman17, opened a 2020 Contenders Mega Box. Got a wild card, played it on Patrick Mahomes, very smart. 66.56 points for Mahomes with that wild card. 2 mem cards in a 2020 Contenders Mega Box. DeAndre Swift and Jerry Jeudy, both times 4, both had good games. DeAndre Swift especially was targeted heavily, and 81.6 points for DeAndre Swift with that times 4 multiplier. So 263.36 for DeBuffman, and that brings us to the total points through week 1. These are in order of points scored. So the top 4 as it stands right now: Card Dojo, DeBuffman17, Tavern Sports Cards, and ZENPAITCG. You are currently in the running to go into week 3. So we will do one more week next week. Everyone here submits another lineup. We add those points together, the top 4 from weeks 1 and 2. The top 4 go into week 3. The first seed will play the 4th seed, and the second seed will play the 3rd seed. And then in week 4, we have the championship between the winners of both of those matchups. So then we will restart the whole thing in week 5. All right, I don't think I have anything else for today, guys. I'm just trying to figure out how to do this different setup, so it's going to look a little different than it did last year. And I will probably change it next week. But for this week, this is how we're doing it. This is the review of week 1. And I just want to thank all the channels for joining. Hope you guys are all having a good time with it. If you're following along and you have a channel that you'd like to get involved, definitely let them know. Just contact me on Instagram and I can get you set up. So free to enter and lots of fun. All right, guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next video.